Hello there, and welcome to the Quiet Commodity channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. Maybe the cold has crept in through your window, or maybe you're the kind of person who finds comfort in the hush of winter nights, in the stillness that comes when the world is wrapped in white. Either way, tonight's journey is for you. You've got nothing to do but rest. Let your shoulders drop, your breathing deepen, and your thoughts drift like snowflakes falling through darkness. Because tonight, we aren't simply learning about winter, we're sinking into the quiet depths of the coldest season. Through frost and silence, through hibernation and hearthlight, through the patient stillness of a world asleep beneath ice, some of what you hear tonight may surprise you, or at the very least, lull you gently toward dreams as you drift off to sleep. And just before we begin, if these calm, curious explorations help you unwind, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. Now let's begin. No two snowflakes are alike. Each crystal forms around a single particle of dust suspended high in the frozen clouds. As water vapor condenses onto its surface, it creates six-sided symmetry. But as the snowflake falls, it tumbles through layers of air with different temperatures and humidity levels. These changing conditions shape its branches in ways that can never be repeated. The path through the sky is unique, and so the crystal becomes unique, a frozen fingerprint of gravity. Each one falls silently and melts away, having existed only once in all of time. Snow absorbs sound. When fresh snow blankets the ground, the world becomes unnaturally quiet, as if someone has drawn a heavy curtain across the landscape. This happens because snow is composed of tiny air pockets trapped between ice crystals, and these pockets absorb sound waves rather than reflecting them. The usual noise of footsteps and wind is dampened, swallowed by the white covering. Walking through new snow feels like moving through a library, the air thick with hush. The snow does not silence the world by force, but by a gentle, muffling embrace. Snowflakes are hexagonal because of chemistry. Water molecules bond at an angle of roughly 120 degrees. When they freeze, they arrange themselves into a lattice that naturally forms six-sided shapes. This is not a choice or a design, but an inevitability of nature, the way atoms fit together when slowed by cold. Every snowflake, no matter how complex, is built on this hexagonal foundation. The six arms radiate outward from the center, always maintaining that underlying symmetry. It is geometry written in ice, mathematics made visible, falling silently from the sky. Snow can be different colors. While pure snow is white because it reflects light, nature sometimes paints it. Algae growing on high-altitude glaciers can tint snow pink or red, a phenomenon known as watermelon snow. Dust storms can deposit yellow particles onto snowfields, staining them ochre. In the Arctic, microscopic particles from distant fires can settle on the ice, darkening the surface. Snow is a canvas, and the world writes upon it in pigments carried by the wind, turning the white landscape into a spectrum of quiet, strange colors. The silence after a snowfall has a name. In Scotland, there is a word, snowpowder, describing the fine, drifting powder that settles after a storm. In Japan, shinshin describes the sound, or rather, the profound absence of sound of falling snow. These words attempt to capture something ineffable, the quality of quiet that descends when the storm passes and the world lies motionless. It is not merely the absence of noise, but a presence, a weight of stillness that presses gently against the ears, holding the world in suspension. Ice floats because it expands. When water molecules freeze, they lock into a crystalline structure that spaces them farther apart than when they were liquid. This makes ice lighter and less dense than water, causing it to rise. If ice behaved like most solids and sank, lakes would freeze from the bottom up, destroying aquatic life. Instead, ice forms a protective shield on the surface, insulating the water below. This allows fish and frogs to survive the winter in cold but liquid darkness. This strange anomaly of chemistry allows life to persist through the freeze. Frost forms intricate patterns on windows. On cold winter mornings, windows sometimes bloom with feathery designs, delicate ferns etched in ice. This happens when water vapor touches a surface cold enough to freeze it instantly, skipping the liquid phase entirely in a process called deposition. The patterns follow microscopic imperfections in the glass, tiny scratches that seed the growth of crystals. Each pane of frost is different, shaped by the humidity of the room and the temperature of the night. It is art without an artist, painted overnight in a language of cold. Absolute zero is the theoretical limit of cold. At -273.15 degrees Celsius, molecular motion theoretically stops. Atoms would cease vibrating and energy would reach its minimum. This temperature has never been achieved in nature, though scientists have come extraordinarily close. Winter, no matter how harsh, is nowhere near this cold. Even the freezing Antarctic interior is warm compared to the floor of the universe. Cold has a limit, a point beyond which nature will not allow us to descend, a boundary written into the fabric of reality. Stars appear brighter in winter. Cold air holds less moisture than warm air. In summer, humidity scatters and diffuses light, but in winter, the atmosphere is dry and crisp. Starlight reaches the ground with less interference, making the sky a vault of piercing clarity. Constellations wheel overhead in sharp brilliance. Sirius, the dog star, burns blue-white. On a clear winter night far from city lights, the Milky Way stretches overhead like a river of faint luminescence, ancient light arriving through the cold silence of space. Ice makes sounds as it forms. When a lake begins to freeze, the ice expands and contracts, cracking and groaning in eerie tones. People near frozen lakes describe hearing booms, pings, and low moans traveling across the ice on cold nights. The ice is singing, adjusting to stress, finding equilibrium. It speaks in a language of pressure and release, a voice that carries across frozen expanses in the dark. It is a reminder that the frozen world is not dead, but shifting and settling in its sleep. Glaciers are rivers of ice. They form where snow accumulates faster than it melts, compressing over centuries into dense blue ice. Under their own immense weight, glaciers flow downhill, creeping forward inches per year. Deep within a glacier, the pressure is so great that ice behaves almost like a thick liquid, flowing despite being solid. Glaciers are ancient and patient, reshaping landscapes over millennia, leaving behind valleys and lakes when they finally retreat. They are winter-made permanent cold that does not thaw. Permafrost holds ancient secrets. In the Arctic, the ground remains frozen year-round, sometimes for thousands of feet deep. This permafrost acts as a time capsule, preserving organic matter for tens of thousands of years. The cold halts decay almost entirely. Scientists have found seeds in permafrost that germinated after 30,000 years. It is a library written in soil and ice, a record of ecosystems that no longer exist, held in stasis by a cold that refuses to release its grip. Snow acts as a thermal blanket. A layer of snow traps air, insulating the ground beneath it. Small mammals like voles live in the subnivean zone, the space between the snow and the soil. Here, temperatures remain relatively stable, even when the air above is dangerously cold. Life continues in this hidden layer, tunnels carved through snow, roots protected from the freeze. The snow is a shield, a buffer between the killing cold of the air and the fragile life clinging to the earth. Trees enter dormancy to survive. As autumn fades, deciduous trees withdraw chlorophyll from their leaves and seal off the branches. The sap thickens, turning into a natural antifreeze that prevents cells from rupturing. The tree is not dead, but waiting, conserving energy. Buds formed last summer remain dormant, protected by waxy scales, ready to open when warmth returns. Winter does not kill the forest. It pauses it, holding the trees in a deep, metabolic sleep until the sun returns. Wood frogs freeze solid. These small frogs allow themselves to freeze during winter. Ice forms between their muscle fibers, and their hearts stop beating. They do not breathe. By all visible measures, they are dead. But glucose floods their cells, protecting vital organs from damage. When spring arrives, they thaw and resume life as if nothing happened. It is a biological miracle, a controlled suspension of life. They spend winter as sculptures of ice, waiting beneath logs, trusting in chemistry to preserve them. Bears enter a state of torpor. Bears do not truly hibernate in the way ground squirrels do. Their body temperature drops only slightly, and they can wake if disturbed. They enter torpor, a flexible dormancy. They do not eat or drink for months, living entirely off stored fat. The den is dark, warm from the bear's body heat, and utterly silent except for the soft rhythm of breathing. It is survival through stillness, winter endured by withdrawal, a long, slow dream of waiting for spring. Migration is an escape from hunger. Birds fly thousands of miles not just to avoid cold, but to find food. Arctic terns travel from pole to pole, experiencing 2 summers and no winter, living in perpetual light. Monarch butterflies navigate by magnetic instinct from Canada to Mexico. Migration is a calculation of energy versus survival. Where winter makes food scarce, animals must move. It is a journey driven by the tilting of the earth, a massive, synchronized movement of life seeking the sun. Snow reflects the sun. This is called the albedo effect. Sunlight striking snow is reflected almost entirely, which is why snow-covered landscapes are so blindingly bright. This reflection prevents the ground from absorbing heat, reinforcing the cold. In the Arctic, this feedback loop keeps temperatures low even when the sun is shining. It creates a landscape without hard edges where light seems to come from everywhere at once, diffusing shadows and turning the world into a pale, glowing expanse. Ice ages shaped the modern world. Over the past 2 million years, massive ice sheets have advanced and retreated across the continents. The ice was kilometers thick, pressing down so hard that the Earth's crust sank beneath its weight. When the ice melted, the land slowly rebounded. Glaciers scooped out the Great Lakes and scattered boulders across the plains. We live in an interglacial period, a warm interval between ice ages. Winter is a reminder of the deep cold that sculpted the ground we walk on. Snowpack is a water reservoir. In the mountains, snow accumulates all winter, compressing into a dense mass. When spring arrives, this snowpack melts gradually, feeding rivers and streams with a steady flow. Agriculture and ecosystems depend on this stored water. Without snowpack, rivers would surge with rain and then dwindle. The snow is a savings account, water held in frozen form, released slowly and sustainably to nourish the land long after winter has passed. The fireplace is the heart of the home. For millennia, humans have gathered around fires to push back the cold. The fireplace became a symbol of safety, a place where heat radiates outward. The flames flicker and dance, casting moving shadows on the walls, filling the room with the scent of burning wood. It is hypnotic, ancient, and immediate. Watching a fire triggers a primal sense of comfort, a connection to ancestors who sat before similar fires, finding warmth in the light while winter roared outside. Different woods burn differently. Oak burns hot and slow, releasing heat steadily for hours, making it ideal for long winter nights. Pine ignites easily and burns fast, crackling as resin pockets explode. Birch bark peels into papery layers that catch fire instantly. Applewood burns with a sweet, faint fragrance. Each wood has its character, its pace, its scent. The wood you burn was once alive, drinking sunlight, and now it releases that stored energy as warmth, completing a solar cycle. Wool insulates even when wet. Sheep's wool has evolved to protect animals in damp, freezing climates. The fibers are covered in scales that trap air, and air is an excellent insulator. Wool can absorb moisture without feeling wet, keeping the wearer warm. This is why wool blankets have been winter staples for centuries. It breathes, regulating temperature, a natural technology refined by evolution. It is a gift from animals who know cold intimately and have adapted to survive it. Hot beverages warm from within. When you drink tea or cocoa on a cold day, the warmth spreads from the center of your body outward. Tea became a ritual of mindfulness, leaves steeped in boiling water. Cocoa was transformed into a sweet, creamy comfort. Both are more than physical warmth, they are a pause. Hands wrapped around a hot mug, steam rising to warm the face. The cold remains outside, but in this moment there is heat and sweetness, a small defiance against the chill. Candlelight creates psychological warmth. Before electricity, candles were essential to push back the long darkness. The flame is alive in a way electric light is not. It breathes with the air, casting soft, shifting shadows. Beeswax candles burn cleanly and smell faintly of honey. Watching a candle burn is meditative, the flame a tiny sun consuming itself to give light. It evokes intimacy and quiet, a small, persistent glow against the dark, pressing in from all sides. Hygge is the art of coziness. This Danish concept encompasses the feeling of contentment in winter. Hygge is wool socks, thick blankets, and low light. It is the pleasure of simple things done slowly. In lands where winter is long and dark, hygge is not a luxury but a necessity, a way to transform the cold months into a season of intentional warmth. It is the recognition that while winter is hard, the home can be a sanctuary of softness and peace. Quilts carry history. A quilt is scraps of fabric stitched together into a pattern, each piece carrying a memory. The layers trap air and hold heat, covering sleepers through freezing nights. To sleep beneath a heavy quilt is to be held by the labor of hands long gone. The weight of the blankets induces relaxation, a physical sensation of security. It is warmth that persists across time, passed down from generation to generation, protecting us from the drafty air. Reindeer eyes change color. In the summer, the eyes of Arctic reindeer are gold, but in winter they turn a deep, dark blue. This change allows them to see better in the continuous darkness of the polar winter. The blue color scatters more light, increasing their sensitivity to the faint twilight. It is a biological adaptation to the rhythm of the seasons, a physical change in the animal to match the darkening world around it. Stone holds heat. In old cottages, fireplaces were built from stone or brick because these materials absorb heat and release it slowly. A stone hearth warmed by a fire will radiate warmth long after the flames have died. In some cultures, heated stones were wrapped in cloth and placed in beds. Stone acts as a thermal mass, stabilizing the temperature. It is architecture informed by cold, materials working together to hold warmth like a memory. Soup is winter's sustenance. When cold seeps into bones, hot soup is a resurrection. Broth simmered for hours transforms simple ingredients into nourishment. It is efficient, warming the kitchen while it cooks. The steam rises, fogging the windows. It is heat and flavor, simple and profound. In winter, soup is comfort made edible, warmth you can swallow, a reminder that even in the coldest months, there is sustenance to be found. Glacial ice is blue. The ice in glaciers is so compressed that it scatters light differently than normal ice. It absorbs red wavelengths and reflects blue ones, creating a color that glows from within. Glacial ice is ancient, formed from snow that fell centuries ago. To stand before a glacier is to see time made visible, blue and cold and impossibly vast. It is a deep, resonant color that exists nowhere else in nature. Snow rollers are nature's snowballs. In rare conditions, the wind can roll a layer of sticky snow along the ground, creating natural cylinders that look like rolled-up carpets or hay bales. They form without human hands, growing larger as the wind pushes them across the fields. They are hollow in the center and fragile, crumbling if touched. These snow rollers are a playful phenomenon of physics, fleeting sculptures created by the perfect combination of wind, temperature, and gravity. The northern lights paint the sky. The aurora borealis occurs when charged particles from the sun collide with Earth's atmosphere. They ripple across the sky in curtains of green, pink, and purple. They are most visible in winter, when the nights are longest. Indigenous peoples saw them as spirits or celestial dances. The aurora is proof that even in the darkest, coldest nights, the sky can come alive with color. It is beauty that exists simply because the universe allows it. Icicles are time captured in ice. On a sunny winter day, snow melts on the roof and runs down to the cold eaves, freezing drop by drop. Icicles grow slowly, layer upon layer, hanging like crystal daggers. They are clear or faintly milky, refracting light into rainbows. They are winter's sculpture, carved by gravity and temperature. They capture the transition between liquid and solid, a momentary pause in the water's journey to the ground. The Arctic twilight lasts for months. North of the Arctic Circle, the sun does not rise for weeks, but it is not pitch black. There is a polar twilight, a period of blue, ethereal light that lingers on the horizon for hours each day. The world is cast in shades of indigo and slate. Life contracts into survival mode. The return of the sun is a moment of profound renewal, but the darkness itself is a season, a time of rest and deep quiet. Antarctica is a desert. It is the coldest, windiest place on Earth, yet it receives less precipitation than the Sahara. The interior is a frozen desert where snow rarely falls but never melts. The ice holds 70% of the world's fresh water. Winds scream across the surface, scouring the landscape. It is winter made absolute, a place where life clings to the margins and the interior is left to silence and ice. Hoarfrost is distinct from frost. Hoarfrost forms on cold, clear nights when water vapor turns directly into ice crystals on branches and wires. Unlike the flat frost on a window, hoarfrost grows in three-dimensional spikes and feathers. It coats the trees in white lace, transforming the forest into a coral reef of ice. It is fragile, melting as soon as the sun touches it, but for a few hours at dawn, the landscape is enchanted. Ice fishing is a study in patience. In the north, people drill holes through thick lake ice and drop lines into the dark water. Fish move slowly in winter, and catching them requires stillness. Fishers sit in small, heated shelters, listening to the wind howl outside while they wait in warmth. It is fishing stripped to its essence, no casting, just waiting. It is a meditation on the dark water beneath the ice, trusting that life is still swimming down there. The winter solstice is a turning point. On the longest night of the year, the sun reaches its lowest point. Ancient cultures mark this with fires and rituals, celebrating the promise that the light would return. After the solstice, the days lengthen incrementally. Though the coldest weather is still ahead, the return of the sun has begun. It is a moment of balance, of pause, of hope held through the dark. Evergreens symbolize resilience. While other trees stand bare, pines and firs keep their needles. They photosynthesize slowly throughout winter. Their persistence made them symbols of eternal life. A pine bough brought indoors smells of the forest, a sharp, clean scent of resin. It is a reminder that life endures. Evergreens are winter's defiance, green against white, life standing stubborn against the cold. The Yule log brings light. In ancient tradition, families burned a massive log in the hearth during the solstice. It was meant to burn for 12 days, symbolizing the sun. The ashes were saved to ensure good harvests in spring. While we now burn smaller logs or light candles, the spirit remains, fire as hope, warmth as continuity. It is the act of carrying light forward through the darkest season. Snowflakes land with a sound. Though we cannot hear it, sensitive equipment reveals that snowflakes make a tiny sound when they land. Each arrival is a microscopic collision. Falling snow feels silent to us, but the world is actually filled with billions of tiny impacts. Silence, it turns out, is just an accumulation of sounds too small for us to hear. A symphony played at the edge of perception. Snow settles in layers. If you dig into deep snow, you can read the history of the winter. Each storm leaves a distinct layer, some powdery, some icy, some wet. These layers compress over time, forming a geological record of the season. Scientists study these layers to understand the climate. The snowpack is not just a pile of white, it is a book, written page by page with every storm that passes. The crunch of snow tells the temperature. Fresh, warm snow packs silently. But very cold snow crunches loudly underfoot. This happens because the ice crystals become brittle and fracture with a sharp sound. You can tell how cold it is just by listening to your footsteps. It is sensory knowledge learned through winter walks. The snow speaks through your feet, telling you without words how deep the freeze has gone. Frost pushes stones from the earth. Water in the soil freezes and expands, creating pressure that lifts rocks toward the surface. Farmers call these frost stones, appearing in fields where none were before. It is a slow, inexorable process, the earth rearranging itself in response to cold. It is geology on a small scale, winter writing itself into the landscape, pushing the deep earth upward. Frozen waterfalls halt the flow. In winter, cascades turn into massive columns of blue-white ice. The water freezes mid-fall, building curtains of crystal. Behind the ice, water often still trickles, a muffled pulp. The waterfall becomes a sculpture, the grandest monument to cold. It will melt and vanish in spring, collapsing back into sound and motion, but for now, it is a river suspended in time. Your breath becomes a cloud. When you exhale on a freezing day, the water vapor in your breath condenses instantly. It is your internal warmth made visible, a small fog drifting away. It is proof of the fire inside you, proof that you are alive in a world that is sleeping. The mist dissipates quickly, a momentary mystery, the invisible becoming visible for just a second. Seeds require the cold. Many seeds will not sprout unless they have endured a winter. This process, called stratification, ensures they don't open too early. The seed sleeps in the darkness, programmed to wait for the cold to pass. Winter is not an obstacle for them. It is a necessity, a key that unlocks the future. Beneath the snow, millions of seeds are waiting, carrying the blueprint of the spring forest. Every storm has a character. Some snow falls gently, straight down in still air. Some storms are driven by wind, whipping the world into a blur. There are nor'easters and Alberta clippers. Each storm changes the landscape differently, sculpting drifts or coating trees. We remember winters by their storms, by the days the world stopped. and we were forced to stay inside, safe and warm, while the wind howled. Spring is promised in the snow. Winter is not endless. Each flake that falls is part of a cycle that will turn. The cold will soften. The snow will melt and become the water that feeds the flowers. Winter is not death, but dormancy, a pause before renewal. The cold that challenges us will give way to warmth. Spring is not separate from winter, but born from it, emerging inevitable and patient, promised in the very depth of the chill. And now the snowfall begins to slow. We've drifted through 50 quiet truths, from the geometry of crystals to the silence of falling snow, from frozen lakes singing in the night to the warmth of the hearth. You are part of this stillness. The cold you felt is temporary. The warmth you carry inside is constant. Every winter, no matter how harsh, is followed by spring. Tonight, as you rest, the snow continues to fall somewhere. Flakes drifting down through darkness, silent and endless. The world sleeps beneath this blanket, waiting. And you, warm and safe, can rest now. Let the cold stay outside. Let the snow fall. Let winter do its work. If you're still awake, you can watch the next chapter now. I hope you sleep well and dream softly. Good night.